today I'm going to do a complete overview of all of my yarn supplies, and what I need to do is completely reorganise all of these shelves behind me. And I'm going to go through all of the yarn that I've got and give a complete breakdown of what I would recommend. I'll let you know which yarns are my favourites, what I like to use, things that I would have found useful starting out, on how to find good sustainable yarns. So this is a quick before of all my yarn shelves. They're a bit messy, so I need to take everything out and reorganise everything, put it back and dust the shelves. And I've got all of these boxes with more yarn in them. This one's full of balls of wool, and then just random things as well. I've also got a lot of books on my shelves that need to be reorganised, and the balls of wool up here. So come along with me while I tidy up all my yarn shelves and talk about all of the yarns that I've got currently. I've also never kept a record of all the yarns that I've got, so what I want to also do is create a little wool book where I can keep samples of all the yarn I've got in here, like this, and then write down what colours they are and where I got them from. Most of my linen yarns are here, so I've got this one, I've got these small ones here, and some others back here. So that's all my cones now taken off the shelves. There's also two up there, one there. So I'm going to go through all of these, and then I'll also go through the ones in the drawers. So I'll start off by talking about the linen that I've got. I've got some really fine linens and some chunkier ones for texture. So the coloured ones that I've got are 1 ply, 100% linen. So I've got this purpley pink one, and then I've got this green one, and then this light kind of coral pink colour, and then also a kind of turquoisey blue. So these coloured ones are all from Uppingham Yarns in the UK, and that's the main yarn shop that I use. They've just got loads of different ones, and they're all quite affordable as well from there, so I mainly use ones from there. And they've got a physical shop, but I haven't been there yet, so I just buy all of these online. I'll leave a link in the description for all the yarn shops that I mentioned. Some of them I might not be able to find, but I'll leave a link down below if I can, and they'll all be on there. So I've been looking for a really good linen to use for my wall hangings, and I haven't been able to find the perfect one yet, so if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments. The one that I found the best was from an American website called Weaver House, and I really love their linen. It's really fine and textured, and that was perfect to use. But because it's American, I would have to pay a lot of customs tax to get that yarn, so I don't use that one, but that would be the one that I would prefer to use. I'll leave a link to that one if you're in the US, because that website's really good for yarn. So I've been trying to find a similar one. I bought this one on Etsy. It's just a plain kind of natural linen colour. I also got it in green. So it's a really good strong linen, and it's quite a nice colour, but it's not quite what I'm looking for. I prefer something a bit more like this with more texture on it, but then this is quite hard to use as a warp because it's so fibrous. This one is actually a mix of silk and linen, but because it's so fibrous, the yarn does get really stuck together when you're using it as a warp. But I do really like this one. This one's from Uppingham Yarns. It's the 50% silk, 50% linen in a natural colour. So this one I really would recommend because of the texture, but it's just hard to use as a warp because it gets so tangled because of how fibrous it is, and also parts of it are really thin so it breaks easily. And then for a thicker one, I've got this one that I bought ages ago, and you can really see the fibres that have been spun into it. So this one is from spinningyarnsweavingtales.com. Oh, and it's actually hand spun hemp, not linen. So this is a hemp one. So I would recommend that. So this one's from the same place as well, and it's natural linen. And it's just a chunkier linen with a bit more texture to it. And then I've got this one, but it doesn't have a label on it, so I'm not sure where I got that from. And then these two, they're just small rolls. This one's really fine and a really nice grey colour. And then this one's a little bit thicker and is like a golden kind of colour. So they're both really nice, really like flat texture. So those are from My Fine Weaving Yarns, but I think that's recently changed. But you can find them now on a website called weavingyarn.co.uk. And then next is this linen that's in the colour silver from Uppingham Yarns as well. It's a really nice fine linen, so this is a great one as well. It's nice and kind of soft, a little bit less rough than the other ones, but I'm not quite sure if I like the colour. I would prefer it in like a more natural linen colour. And then this one I also really like. It's from Uppingham Yarns as well, and it's only one ply. It's really fine and it's really soft and got a nice kind of papery texture. So this one I would recommend as well if you want a white linen that's really thin. So now I'm going to take these linen yarns and I'm going to put a little swatch in my book for each colour and make a note of how much it was and where I got it from. So that's all my linen yarns in my book now, all attached with labels on them to say what they are. And I would say that my top picks from this section of the linen yarns would be this fine natural linen, and it's a really fresh white colour. And I don't think I've dyed this one before, but I feel like it would take the dye really well. So I think this is a really good choice if you're looking for a simple plain linen. And then I also like this one off Etsy because it's a nice kind of golden brown colour and it's really strong for a warp. And then if you want the coloured ones as well, there's loads of different colours. And this is a really nice size of yarn as well. And then for the textured ones, I would recommend these ones. But I think these were from abroad and I think I might have paid a bit extra to get these. And in terms of linen as a fibre, I think I would give it like an 8 or an 8.5 out of 10. Because it's one of the most sustainable fibres you can use. It requires a lot less water than cotton uses to produce. It also uses less pesticides than cotton, so it's a lot more sustainable than a cotton fibre. Also, it's got really great properties, like it's breathable, it's durable, and so it can be used for a lot of like homeware pieces like tea towels and tablecloths and nice like linen curtains like this. So I use linen a lot for the warps of my weaving because it's super strong for a warp, and I like the like natural dark kind of grey colour as well as a background, and I like to add colours into it, into my weft, because I use linen almost most of the time. It's one of my top yarns that I use. And if you have any recommendations for linen, let me know, especially European linen. A lot of these ones, like the ones off Etsy, are Lithuanian linen, so it's produced a lot in Europe. And if you have any suggestions for shops, please let me know in the comments below. These are all my wool yarns. So what I'll do is I'll break them down into the shop they were from or the type of wool they are. These are all my lamb's wool yarns, all from Uppingham Yarns. And I'll go through every colour. This orange one is called Gazelle. This is Sienna. This one's called Ember. And it's a bit lighter and a bit more orangey than Sienna. This one is Clay. Kind of an off-white grey. This one's called Orchard. It's kind of green with flecks of yellow and blue colours. This is a yellow called Laguna. This pink one also has kind of flecks of white and darker pink in it, and it's called Pink Haze. This is a good light blue colour called Blue Seal. This is Ecru. And then this one also has kind of flecks of dark and light green, and it's called Moss. And then this blue is a bit of a softer blue to that one, and it's called Seal. So that one's really nice. This is a darker green, which also has some flecks of dark green and kind of a bluey green, and that's called Rosemary. This is a really nice dark blue, kind of like dark denim blue, and this is Indigo. And then this is also kind of similar blue but a bit lighter, and that's in the colour Rhapsody. And then this is the green called Landscape, and it is just like mossy grass colour. It's really nice, kind of got lighter and darker tones in it. This is a kind of aqua kind of blue, and it's called Caspian. And this is just kind of dull grey colour, and it's in the shade Cliff. So I've got quite a lot of those ones, and I've got a shade card here as well. That's the name of the shop. So I would say that the lamb's wool is like one of my top 3 wool yarns. It's just super easy to use. It is quite breakable, like it's not super strong as a thicker yarn, but it's still really good, and I've used it on a couple of warps, so it's still strong enough for a warp. You get a few yarn breakages, but it's still strong enough. And I really like it because there's so many colours you can get, and they're some quite subtle colours, and then if you want something a lot brighter, they have quite a lot of bright colours as well. So I would say this is definitely in my like top 3 wool yarns to use. It's also really soft. I made some lambswool scarves out of it, and once you wash them, then you can brush them as well, and it's really soft. Not as soft as, say, a more expensive cashmere or merino wool, but for like a more affordable soft yarn, lambswool is a really good option. Like this brown one is a really nice dark brown in the shade Cocoa, and this was £41 for 800 grams, so it's not too bad. This is 84 grams for £5.88. So I would probably rate these an 8 out of 10 because they're really versatile. The Shetland type wool that I'll show you next is very similar. They've got lots of colours, and it's thicker, so it's a lot stronger, and you can weave it quicker because it's a lot thicker. But I'd say that it's more of a rough texture, and this is a bit softer. But this one's very fine, so it does take a long time to weave a scarf with this one. So that's the only downside. So this is my next wool, and it's again from Uppingham Yarns, and it's called Shetland type wool. And the fibre for this one originates from New Zealand and South America. And it's 4-ply, so it's a bit thicker than the lamb's wool. So it's really good for using as a warp. So the yarn's quite hard to break if you're using it as a warp, so it's a really good one for that. And it's not too fibrous that the yarn will stick together when you're using it as a warp. So I'll go through which shades of this wool I have. The ones I have at the moment are really earthy tones. So I've got this brown one, and this is called Scots Pine, and it's brown with flecks of like an orangey brown and a darker brown. So that one's really nice. And this one is a duller brown with like flecks of grey and dark brown. And this one's called Donkey. This is just the plain ecru shade, so a nice off-white. This is a really nice mossy green, and it's called Dark Apple. This one's called Oxford, and it's a nice dark grey, almost bluey grey. And then this one I use quite a lot. It's a really nice light grey colour called Silver Grey. I also have a shade card for this one. So these are some of the colours that you can get. So I really like this one. Some of the colours are quite dark though compared to the lambswool colours, but this is still one of my favourites, and I'd say it's a bit more textured and coarse than the lambswool yarn, so if you want something more textured, this is a really good one. Another upside is just the plain ecru or the white one is a really good just base to use, especially if you want to try out different techniques. This is super easy to weave with, so if you were just starting out and you wanted to practice with something simple, it's really good for waffle patterns or any kind of patterns. It just holds its shape really well, even when you wash it. But yeah, overall I really like this one. Also price wise, this one is definitely one of the best. For about 500 grams of this is only £25. This British wool that's really chunky, really good quality, and from a smaller seller, this is £50 for 500 grams. So this one's half the price. It is different, but it just shows you that this is a really affordable wool to buy. Now these are all my British wools, so I'll go through all of these. I'll start with the Jamieson's wool. So the Jamieson's of Shetland wool is from a family owned business, and they produce wool from native Shetland sheep. And this is one of my favourite wools. Their colours are some of the best because they really blend different colours together to create kind of flecks of colours in the yarn. So this one's like blue and white, create a really nice light blue. And then the dark green is like flecks of dark and light green together. And then the brown is a really nice natural sheep brown colour that's so nice and really dark. And then the grey is a really dark grey with flecks of like white sheep's wool in it. So they've got lots of different types of yarn on their website, lots of knitting yarn. These ones are from the weaving yarn section. So they're sold in 500-gram cones and they're only £11 for 500 grams, so that's really good. I would say the downsides of this yarn is maybe it's a bit breakable, but it's still quite thick, so you could still use it as a warp. I don't think it will break too much. I have used it in a warp. I've used it with other wool as well. I've mixed it with the Shetland type wool that I just showed you. I've mixed the other different colours. So you still can use this as a warp. Another downside is that it's kind of a high twist wool. So when you weave it, sometimes the shape can change a bit because it might gather a little bit. Also when you wash it, the shape could change a bit because it's so tightly twisted, so it doesn't sit as flat as some wools. Like if you were doing a waffle weave, sometimes it doesn't sit as nicely as other yarns, so I'd say that's a bit of a downside, but not enough that I wouldn't use it. I'd say my two favourite colours are probably the blue and the brown. There are quite a lot of colour choices for this yarn and a lot of earthy tones again. But one other downside is the availability. Sometimes they're sold out of colours that I like, and sometimes when I order it I have to send an email reminder because they haven't shipped it. Sometimes it takes a long time for me to receive it, but it's still one of my favourite ones that I would recommend. Next is one that I purchased quite recently to make some chunky brown and white waffle cushions. I wanted a really chunky yarn that I could weave quickly and would be really textured. So I got this one and this brown as well. So it's a natural sheep's colour wool undyed, and it's a really nice, really dark brown. So I'll put up the name of the brand on screen, and it's from the Isle of Mull with native breeds of sheep. You pay a bit extra for the quality and kind of local, sustainable British wool. So this one was a bit more expensive than the others, but I really like kind of coarse British wool texture. So this one I do really like, but I wouldn't buy it a lot because of the price. And then this is the opposite. This is super fine. This is lace weight wool, and this is probably my favourite ever wool. So it's really fine, kind of similar to the lamb's wool, but a tiny bit finer maybe. And this is from Daughter of a Shepherd. And this is the 100% wool from Hebridean sheep, lace weight, and it's sold in 100 grams. So it's one of my favourite brands because she sometimes does drops of really like experimental colours, like naturally dyed colours. So they're like some of the nicest quality yarns that I've seen. There's some really nice thick greys, like chunky wools. But yeah, I really like this fine one. It's the natural brown sheep wool colour, but it's also got really nice flecks of like white, like textural, really fibrous yarn. So it weaves like really nicely. I made some really nice scarves out of this, and I got some more to make some more scarves. So the only downside of this one is that it's really fine, so it's quite breakable, probably too breakable to use as a warp. You could mix it with the thicker versions and use this as the weft. The only other downside is that this one's also more pricey. It's about £20 to £27 per 100 grams. So it's definitely one of the more expensive ones, so I don't buy it too often, but it is my favourite. She's got a nice book about the story behind the wool and like lots of knitting patterns as well. It's nice wool to knit with. So this brown one is also from Uppingham Yarns, and it's from the supplier Paintbox Textiles. and it's a really nice brown. But I also got it because this one's definitely one of the cheapest. I got 1 kilogram for £42, and it's a really soft one. Unlike some of the coarser ones, this one's really soft. I've also got it in a grey colour. It's really nice, kind of Arctic grey colour, but I haven't used it yet. So these are British wool. It's quite fine, but still actually it's really strong, so you could definitely use that in the warp. Like, that's not breaking very easily. Yeah, so this one looks good. I did want a white one. I thought this might be a bit more white than grey, is the only thing. But I would still use this. And then some of these other British wools that I've got are a bit pointless to show you because I got them in a closing down sale of a yarn shop, so you can't get these anymore. So I don't know what I'll use them for because I can't get any more of them if I run out. And then I've got this Uppingham Yarns like speckledy white wool that's British wool as well. But I don't really like this one. I prefer just the plain white rather than the speckled yarn. And then I've got the plain white British wool from Uppingham Yarns as well. So this is just in the colour bleached ecru. So this is a good just standard one. Sometimes I use this one to dye with natural dyes. Although I feel like because it's bleached it doesn't take the dye up as well as maybe just a plain ecru. Then this is just a big hank of wool that I get to do my naturally dyed yarn. So I dye it with Madder Red natural dye, and that's what I use to make my naturally dyed wool that you can get off my website. And once I dye it, it's got really nice texture to it. And this is also the British Wool Swatch Guide that I got off Uppingham Yarns, but maybe you could also buy it directly. That's the name of the brand. So that's the plain white one. So that's all of the colours. They've got loads of colours. So it's worth getting swatch books. I just got this one recently, so I'll probably have a look at that for my next project. So that's all my British wool ones. So I would probably rate the British wool a 9 out of 10 because it's super sustainable for me because I'm in the UK, so it's local yarn. The sheep fleeces aren't going to be going to waste, so it's a really sustainable choice. Wool has really good properties, it's durable, it's warm, and the British wool has a really nice texture to it. It's really coarse and fibrous, but you can get really soft ones as well. So the downsides, I would say maybe the availability, because it was quite hard to find some good yarn on cones for British wool. There's a lot of knitting yarn around, but it took me a long time to find some brands that I really like. And sometimes it's easier to get hold of the Australian and New Zealand wools. So another good yarn shop in the US is Just Yarn. I would recommend them. They've got really good colour selection and quite a few different yarns. So this is the array wool. So it's quite just a good versatile plain kind of block colour in the shade Natural and Olive. So these are some good easy ones to use, very strong. Got this one from Uppingham Yarns, which is ecological wool, which is made from 50% merino and 50% alpaca. So this is super soft, and this would make like a really good scarf. It's very luxurious, but I haven't used this yet. I've been saving it because this one's a bit more expensive because it's merino and alpaca. So it's £33 for 500 grams. I've also got these two kind of merino wools, but I can't remember where I got these. There's no label inside, but Uppingham Yarns do similar ones, so it could have been from there. And I haven't used them. I like the colours, but they're just not uniquely textured enough for me. So I got these two off Etsy as well, just from searching Etsy for different yarns. This one's a really, really thin, 70% alpaca and then 30% mulberry silk. So this one's really soft, good for weaving really fine work. And then this one on Etsy as well is cashmere and silk, and it's a nice textured yarn. And then lastly with the wools, these two are from a really good yarn brand called Ito Yarn. It's Japanese. And this is a really just thin, really pretty pink wool. And then this one I like to use as well because it's got a bit of a sheen to it and like flecks of white. So this is a really good yarn brand for something a bit more unique and special. But the downside is that they only come in small cones, so I'm quite like selective when I use these. So that's all the wool now. Now I'll move on to another group of yarn. So this is my bamboo yarn. And I think you can find this on weavingyarns.co.uk. So I've just got different thicknesses. Got this one, and then I've got a thinner one as well. So it's quite useful to have some really strong plain white yarn with a bit of a sheen to it, and just weaves really flat. And you can add other textures in with this more plain texture. So bamboo is a really good one, especially because you can use it for a warp, you can paint it, dye it, and it holds the dye really well. So I do like bamboo, but it's quite hard to sometimes find bamboo yarn. I've only got natural fibres in my collection of yarn because I don't use any plastic derived materials. I only use biodegradable fibres. So this is 30% silk and 70% mohair yarn. This is from Uppingham Yarns, and it's just a fine mohair with a lot of fluffy texture to it. So I like to get this one, and I would recommend it because most mohairs have about 30% nylon in them, but this one's just silk and mohair in it, so it is biodegradable. This one also I've got, which is a massive cone of just the same but way fluffier and a little bit chunkier. But I'm not sure where you would find this now because I got it from a shop that was closing down. So I got it for a reduced price and I got 3 cones of it, but I'm not sure if I'd be able to find it again. So if anyone knows any similar kind of thicker mohair, that would be great. Yeah, so mohair is a bit more expensive. This one was £16 for 50 grams, but it can look really nice pairing it with like something more simple. And also with this mohair, because it's partly silk, it takes up dyes really well. So if you were to naturally dye this, it would keep a really strong colour. So now these are my viscose fibre yarns. And viscose is a natural fibre made from cellulose, typically from wood pulp. So I've got a few different kinds. So these are the ones I have. This one is a really nice one. It's like a copper colour, and it's viscose rayon, 100%, and it's 1 ply, so it's quite fine. And this is in the shade Copper from Uppingham Yarns. And viscose has a really nice sheen to it. It mimics the qualities of silk in a way because it's so silky and it drapes really well on fabric. It's just really smooth to use. So viscose is a really great alternative to using kind of shiny polyester fibres, or like with these two you could use them instead of using like metallic thread in your weaving. So this one is the same, but it's in the shade Gold. And I use these ones a lot in making wall hangings. And then another really good like unique yarn is this one that's got a completely different feel to it. It's got a matte finish and it's more papery. And it's just a mix of white and black with a nice stripe through it. And I think I got this from a shop in London called Loop Knitting. And I'm not sure if I could still find it online, but it might be from Ito Yarn. And then this is one of my favourites as well. And it's a plain white tencel fibre. So it's just tencel yarn. It's a really nice easy one to use, and the best thing about this one is it dyes really well. So if you're using it with natural dyes, it takes the dye really well, a bit like silk. So I've used it before to naturally dye. This time it went a kind of goldy brown colour. And I've also got this little bit that I naturally dyed as well. So this is a really nice option, and I got this from My Fine Weaving Yarn, which is now weavingyarn.co.uk. But I'll link down below loads of options of different yarn shops. You might be able to find something similar if you can't find these ones exactly. And then I've just got this one, which is slightly elastic. So this is made of viscose, but I haven't used this one yet. It's just super fine. I'm not sure what I would use it for, so I don't know when I'd use this. This is in the shade Linen. So I would say out of these ones, I really love this one, and these 100% viscose ones come in loads of different colours, so they're all really nice. I'd love to get some more colours of these. I also like this one, but it's quite hard to find, so I don't know if I'd be able to find that one again. And then I like just using the plain one to dye with in tencels, really sustainable, because it uses a closed loop process in its production, so it reuses all the waste material. So out of these ones, this is the most sustainable, the tencel fibre. But yeah, viscose is great for making clothes as well, because they just sit really nicely and it's really durable and seems really luxury, but it's a little bit cheaper than buying silk. This viscose one was £7 for 50 grams, so it's about half the price of the silk ones. So next I've got cotton yarns, and I've only got these ones of cotton in my supplies, because I don't really use cotton a lot because it's not very sustainable. It takes a huge amount of water to produce when you could use different fibres like linen or viscose. So what I've got is I've got two different strings. These are just useful to have around. I don't use them for weaving with, but I use the string to tie my warp and to use to make my labels and things like that. And I have a little basket of ties that I reuse. So those are just useful string to have around. And I got this big cone of string from Uppingham Yarns. It's just called Open End Cotton. And it was only £3.75 for this 250 gram cone, so that's quite good. And then this one I really like, and I do use this to weave with. I haven't used this colour yet, but I used a kind of white natural colour before, but I think they discontinued that one. But I haven't used the dark colour yet. And this is called Wildlife Organic Cotton. This one is 70% cotton and 30% linen. So they've just twisted the fibres to make a really nice speckled pattern. So I really like how this one weaves. It's really strong and it just weaves really nicely, holds its form really well. I think this might have been the only colour, is the only downside of it. I liked the natural colour, but they don't seem to have that one anymore. And that one's from Uppingham Yarns as well. This one I don't have a label for, but I think it's just a really fine cotton, but it's got a really nice creamy colour and it's just really fine, so this would make a really nice warp. And then this one I got ages ago and I haven't used it much because it's a really like bleached bright white, so I don't really like the colour compared to this like more natural colour. And this one says Cotton Club in the shade white from Yeoman Yarns, so that's that one, and that's all of my cotton that I have. Next is Nettle fibre. So I've got 3 different Nettle yarns. I've got this shiny silk-like really fine yarn here, and this is made from 100% nettle fibre, also known as Rami, and this is in the colour beige from Uppingham Yarns, but I don't think I've used this one either because it's so fine that would take a long time to weave. But if you wanted a really fine weave, then this is a really nice one as an alternative to silk, and it's super sustainable. So if you want something really fine, I would see if they've got any more colours of this one. And then I've got this kind of fluffy woolly textured one, and this is 60% silk, 40% nettle fibre in black, and it was £20 for 100 grams, so this one's actually really expensive, but if you want this kind of texture. But I don't really like this one that much. It kind of has a polyestery look to it because it just has that kind of feel to it, but it is natural fibres. And then I've just got this one, which is hand spun nettle, and this is really thick, really textured. You can see the nettle fibre in this one, And it'll be really interesting to weave with this one if you're making some artwork. This one was from Spinning Yarns Weaving Tales, and it's just called hand spun nettle. And these ones just come in hanks, and then I just wound it onto a cone. So I would rank this one really highly in terms of sustainability. It's very similar to linen. It's got really high strength and can have a lot of different qualities to it. The only downside, I would say, it's maybe a bit more expensive and less availability. And if you go on Uppingham Yarns website, they've got loads of different natural fibres, and they've got a whole category for plant fibres. So they've got really interesting ones. They've got the nettle, they've got hemp, viscose, linen, cotton, jute, paper yarn, pineapple leaf fibre and tencel. So if you're struggling to find some, that's a really good shop to find them from. And the more like special textured ones, the Spinning Yarns Weaving Tales one is a really good one. I just think that one's based in New Zealand. So next is silk, and I've got all these shades of different colours of silk. It's just a fine one-ply silk. It's 100% Italian silk, and it's from Uppingham Yarns. So these ones are really good. You can get these in loads of different colours. The only negative is that they're really expensive. It's £22 for 100 grams of silk. You can do some really nice patterns in all their different colours. So these are all the colours that I've got. This is the shade red, this is green, this is the black, this is the turquoise, this is the white, and this is peach, and this is the grey one. And those are all the Uppingham Yarns ones that I have. And then I also have this one that I got on Etsy, and it's mulberry silk in golden green colour. So you can search on Etsy and find some good ones. This one's nice. It's like a mix of different colours all blended in together, but I haven't used much of this one. And then I've got these two, Artisan silk. So these are both from Spinning Yarns Weaving Tales as well. This one's really fine though and really delicate, so I haven't used that one much. This one's really thick and textured, but really breakable. So I wouldn't really use these as a warp, but they're great for adding some unique textures and doing some traditional silk weaving. So that's all my silk yarns. And I would probably choose to use the Viscose yarns instead of the silk because they were a bit cheaper and they were slightly thicker and stronger to use, so maybe a bit nicer to weave with. But these ones are still really good if you want some really fine weaving and like luxurious silks. So these are all my hemp yarns. So I'd say my favourites that I use the most are the paper yarns. I'd say this is one of my top yarns to use because it's such a nice texture and colour, and it's got such a different feel to all my other yarns, so when I combine it with different yarns that I've got, it can look really nice as a weave together with other like softer fibres. So this is from Uppingham Yarns, and it's a paper yarn made from 100% manila hemp. And I like to use this one to use as a warp and paint my warp because it holds dyes really well, so I use this one to naturally dye as well. And then this is just the thicker version. Sometimes I use this weaving the warp, and I paint this one as well sometimes. So these two are really good, and hemp is also really sustainable as well. This is just some hemp yarn that I've naturally dyed. This is some different hemp yarn, and I've just dyed this with a mixture of natural dyes, and it holds it quite well. And then these are 3 colours from the Uppingham Yarns 100% hemp. This is in the colour red, this one in the colour metallic, and this one in the colour indigo. And I'd say this is my favourite out of the 3. It's a really nice blue colour, and the hemp is like really strong and really papery texture as well. Similar to the linen, but quite a flat, rough texture. So I really like these hemp yarns. I'd like to buy some more of the colours. And these were £35 for the 250 gram cones. So I would definitely recommend these ones. But I haven't got any from any other shops at the moment. There are probably some really good ones online that you can find. So these are all specialty yarns that you could use to manipulate the shape of your fabric if you weave with them. So I've got these ones that are all from Ito Yarns. You can find them on Loop Knitting or on their own website. And these ones are all silk and steel yarns. So they're silk wrapped around a steel wire. So when you weave with it, you can then bend the fabric and bend the yarn slightly. But only slightly because it's quite a thin little wire. So it's not that malleable. But they're also really nice, shiny, silky colours. So I would recommend the Ito yarns because you can find loads of different experimental yarns to use. They only come in really small cones and they're a bit expensive, but if you're just using a little bit of them, they're quite good. So these are all the colours that I've got. The pink, kind of silvery colour, the grey, and they're all quite metallic tones. The purple, and then the kind of lime yellowy green. This one is also a silk and steel yarn from Uppingham Yarns. So it's got that same tiny silk wire inside where the silk's wrapped around. And you can't see the steel. But it just means that it kind of changes its shape a little bit. But it doesn't do that much to it. So it'd be good to experiment with a little bit first and see what you think. And this one that I've got is just a reflective yellow yarn. So it's very bright, very reflective. That's that one, and that's from Uppingham Yarns as well. And then this one from Uppingham Yarns is called Grillon, and it's a thermoformable yarn. And what this one does is you can weave with it. I've used it before where I've woven it along with other normal yarns. And then I think it's made from like a PVA glue. So once you've woven it, you can then press the fabric with an iron, and this will like almost dissolve, and you'll be left with just your normal yarn. But you can apply heat to it, and it will change the form of the fabric. So if you made the fabric into the shape you want and then apply heat, it should hold the fabric in place. I've done this before. I've got a video on my channel of me using some of these yarns, so I'll link that one down below so you can see exactly how you use this. But this is a really interesting one. I haven't used it much, but I'd like to use it a bit more. This is the most interesting out of these ones to use. It's really good if you want to try some manipulating experiments with your fabric. So next is this one. It's from Uppingham Yarns again, and it's a thermosetting yarn. So I don't know if I've used this one before. It's made from 70% cotton and 30% polyester, but also a bit like the Grillon, but this won't melt into the fabric. This will just slightly set when you apply heat. So you could give that one a try. This is it as well, but it's just in the white. And this was only £9.50 for 100 grams of yarn. And then this one's also really good. I've used this before, and it's a glow-in-the-dark yarn. So I would recommend using this if you want some glow-in-the-dark fabric. It's a really good one. It's made from polyester, and that's also from Uppingham Yarns. So that's all the yarns that I've got to change the shape of the fabric. And I got them all when I was doing some different experimentation and sampling. So these are good ones. I haven't used them in a while, but I would recommend trying them out. especially these Ito yarns are really nice, and the grill-on yarn, you could possibly create some really good shapes with that one. So this is a really interesting group of yarns. I've got loads of different textured yarns here, so I'll go through them all. This one is a banana yarn, and it's from a shop on Etsy called Yarns. So this is really nice. It's like very thick and loosely spun banana yarn, and it's very shiny like silk or like viscose. So I used this a little bit. I bought some more recently. So this is a really nice one to use. This one is really textured, like straw-like quality. And this is also hand spun banana, and it's from Spinning Yarns Weaving Tales. So this is a good one if you're looking to do some woven artworks or something, if you want to add a little bit of plant-like texture to it. This one, that's a viscose raffia yarn, is just like a tape of yarn that you could use for wrapping or you could use for weaving. This one's really nice. It's light and papery, and this is from Wool and the Gang, and I haven't mentioned them yet, but Wool and the Gang have a really good range of sustainable yarns. They've got tencel as well, and they've got loads of different ones. They've got this in lots of different colours, so they're a good one to look at. So I've also got this really nice dyed indigo blue, tiny, really thin yarn, but I haven't used it yet because I was kind of saving it. It's really nice, dyed with natural indigo, and this is from Ito yarn, so that would be really nice to do, but it's really delicate and fragile, so I'm not sure what I'd use it for. And then I've got some other yarn. I think it was banana yarn or pineapple fibre or something like that, that I got on Etsy. And then I've got these 3 tiny little balls of thick yarn that's spun from plant fibres, and these were all from Weaver House. So these are really nice, but I only have a tiny bit, so I was kind of using them sparingly again. But yeah, if you want some plant textures in your work, these are really nice. They're from the US though, so I've only got these ones. Now I've just got a little ball of some of my natural dyed yarn. So you could create some really nice colours just by dyeing with some natural plant dyes. And then I also have these random gold and silver metallic threads that I'm not sure where I got them from, but I've just got them as well on my shelves. If I wanted to add some gold and silver, but I'd probably use the gold viscose yarn that I showed you earlier instead. So that's all of the yarn on my main shelves, all of the cones of yarn that I've gone through now. Next I'll do a quick sort through of all my balls of wool and quickly show you what I've got, and then I can put everything back and organise it all. I've got some really nice balls of chunky wool that I'll show you. So I'll run through where I got all of my balls of wool from. So I'll start with this one, and this one is my own madder dyed red wool. So this is 100% wool, and I've naturally dyed it with madder root extract, and this is available on my shop. I need to dye some more, so that'll be my next task to do. But it's just a rich red colour, and it's a double knit yarn. And then I've got this one. This is called Retreat Chunky Roving 100% blue-faced Kerry Hill wool from the West Yorkshire Spinners. So that's a nice orange colour, and I've also got it in this blue. Most of these balls of wool are chunky ones that I like to add into my weaving. This one's really nice. It's a Rowan brushed fleece made with extra fine merino wool and baby alpaca. It's super soft. It's in a grey kind of colour. I haven't used that one yet, but that one's really nice. I've also got this one, which is a white, really soft wool that would be really nice to use with weaving. This one is ecological wool. That's the name of the brand. And this one is undyed Peruvian Highland wool. And I've used this a few times with making cushions, so this one's really good for chunky wool that you can just weave really quickly. So this one and quite a few others I got on Wool Warehouse online. They've got a lot of good yarn on there, and sometimes it's on sale, so that's quite a good website to use. Next I've got this one. And this one has a really nice feel to it. It's 100% wool, and it's from Daughter of a Shepherd. It's worsted weight, and it's sourced and spun in Yorkshire. It's a great colour. It's like grey mixed with white sheep's wool. And then I've got this Rowan one. And this one's called Four Seasons, made with cotton. And it's just a really nice navy blue. And then this one's really interesting. That would be nice to weave with. I might use some of these in my next wall hangings. This one is the same as the green one I showed you earlier. It's the Rowan brushed fleece, and it's in an appley green. And then I've just got some more of my red madder dyed wool. And then this brown one is the same as the white one, the ecological wool. So just a chunky, simple wool. I think that one was quite affordable. And here's a whole hank of it as well. So you get a lot in this one, and it's quite affordable compared to the fancier Rowan wools. Here's another one similar to that one but in a green. And then again the Rowan brushed fleece in a darker grey colour. And there's this one that I haven't used yet either. That's a really chunky brown one. And then this one is Rowan's Big Wool, made with 100% merino wool. And this one's really chunky. So that's all my chunky wools. I get them either from, like I said, Wool Warehouse or in John Lewis or in other kind of knitting shops near me. So I've got all of these. It would be nice to find some really chunky wool on cones, but I haven't been able to find like ones like this for weaving that come on cones. So if you know any good ones, let me know. And next I'll just go through my drawers here. So what I've got in here is some plain wool to dye with. So these will be what I use to make my naturally dyed wool. So I've got to prepare these soon and dye some more. And then I've got some wool from a local shop that's a bit unorganised. So there's a few different colours. And then I've just got some leftover cones. Some more of the banana fibre that I got on Etsy. And lots more hanks of yarn. So that's just where I keep all the leftover hanks of yarn that aren't on cones. And in here I've got lots of balls of wool, like this one from a Welsh company. And I've got this in lots of different colours. And then I've got soft ones like this, lots of different Rowan ones. Also a really good brand is Linton Direct. So they do really specialist yarns with lots of texture and really unique. So if you wanted to experiment with lots of different designs, these are really good ones to find. So I've got this blue one. I've got this white one. This is a good one for doing like weaves based on landscapes. This fluorescent kind of orange one. Rowan felted tweed. Jamieson's wool. And then just lots of other random balls of wool that I've got off Wool Warehouse. Also this chunky wool from Rowan as well in the white colour. And then in this one I've just got some more of the plain wool. And then this one from Ito yarns, which I've dyed a little bit of. And then random DIY strings or fishing line. And then I've just got some warps in there that I haven't used yet. So that's all of the wool now sorted through. So all I need to do now is dust the shelves, take the books out, and then put everything back in, all neatly arranged.
Lighten up, take me on your magic river. Tell me all your dreams align. Sign me up and tell me about the people that you know who are trying to feel alive. Life can get hard, so honey, if you need to cry, just come share my pillow and rain, rain, go away. I wanna hear about everything you're ever thinking. You know that I can take the truth. And call me out if you think I'm ever slipping. Maybe I can turn it around. Oh yeah. Baby, if you want us, you know time is on our side. If things are gonna haunt us, we'll just have to put aside. And I'm right here if you just need to cry. Come love, share my pillow, and rain, rain, go away.
And here's it all finished now. Everything's tidy. So that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Let me know if there's any particular yarns you would want me to use in future videos. And also if you've got any suggestions to share of other yarn shops. And don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching.